Hey guys, this is Mr. Sisson, and we're going to take a look right now at the CRAAP Test, which is a tool that's going to be really useful for you guys in determining which sources you should use and shouldn't use for your National History Day projects. And so what we're going to do is we're going to work through this document really quickly and annotate some things and make sure we have a decent idea of why we would need to use this and also what the different criteria are that we would use to evaluate sources. So the CRAAP Test worksheet, let's just get into it. Use the following list to help you evaluate sources. So this tool is going to help you to figure out if sources are trustworthy or not. The reason for this may be a shock to you guys, so I hope you're ready. There is information on the internet that is not true. And I know that's crazy. I'll give you a second to process that. But what you would hate to have happen is for that untrue or false information to make its way into your National History Day project. And so at some point you're standing in front of a judge talking about this important research that you've done, and the judge says, yeah, that's not true. Where did you find that information? And you'd have to go, blah, 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 and it would be really embarrassing for everyone involved. And so we're going to try and protect you guys from that. So this tool will help us evaluate sources. So the way we do that, answer the questions as appropriate, and then rank each of the 5 parts from 1 to 10. 1 is unreliable, 10 is excellent. So the 5 parts are these things you'll see below: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. Add up the scores to give you an idea of whether you should use the resource and whether your facilitator would want you to. Any source under a score of 40 should be closely examined, and we're gonna lower that threshold a little bit to 34. And the reason for that is if you go down to this thing down here, you're gonna see kind of a score range. And 34 is technically still borderline acceptable. What that means, for something to be borderline, it means it's one of many sources, I think. That's how I would say. So, actually I'm gonna put okay if one of many sources. So if you found a source that was a 34 and you've got 20 other sources and you know the information there is true or fits with what you're saying, then yeah, that's fine. If you have one source and it's a 34, then you probably need to do a little bit more work. All right, let's look at the first category down here, and this is currency. And why does this matter? So this is specifically for the internet, I think. You may find books that might be old, and that's important to keep in mind, but I think for you guys' topics, what you're really going to need to focus on is the internet. How recent is it? Well, why does that matter? Why does it matter if it's current or recent? Well, most of the time, if someone has good information and authority on the information that they're speaking about and they publish something on the internet, they're going to keep it updated. And so this doesn't necessarily mean that if it was published in 2005, it's false. But if it was published in 2005 and it hasn't been updated since, well, you need to click around a little bit and see how well kept this website is. So anyways, let's work through some questions you can ask. And a lot of these are going to be kind of a feel sort of thing. So we'll have another workshop a little bit later where you can watch me score a website on these things. When was the information published or posted? Again, like it may have been published a while back, but then you can look for something where it says if it's been updated. And if it's been updated, that means someone keeps looking at this and the information and keeps saying, yes, this information is accurate. Has the information been revised or updated? Well, I keep saying the same things. And really, this is pretty important. It means someone else is keeping their eyes on that information. Is the information current or out of date for your topic? This is important, and I'm going to pair this with this one down here, and we'll talk about it in a second. Are the links functional? This is really basic. That means you just click around. If you find a website and it has links to other pages and those are not functional, that means someone has not looked at that website in a while. They're missing it. And so maybe that information is out of date. Maybe no one has looked at it in the past 5 years. Maybe no one's looked at it in the past 10 years. And that means it needs to be scored a little bit lower on this. It doesn't mean that you have to throw away the whole source, but the lower score needs to be reflected over here. And they'll add in with the rest of them. And is your topic in an area that changes rapidly, like technology or popular culture? This probably won't matter as much for us, for our purposes right now, because National History Day is pre-1990, at least for us. So you probably shouldn't have to worry too much about this, but if you were doing research on something really, really recent, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, maybe not technology, but let's say like things like what music is really popular. If you went back just 3 or 4 years ago, you might have someone be like, no, you might find an article saying dubstep is the most popular, important music that's ever existed. And then you could look at something right now and they'd be like, dubstep is so stupid. I don't know why anyone would ever listen to it. And you'd be like, oh, well, which one's true? Well, one of them was 4 years ago. That's why currency would matter. That's a great example. Tell all your friends. Okay, the next one is relevance. And I moved too far up. Relevance, the importance of the information for your needs. So this is important because you have to know, what are you looking for? And why this matters is you're looking for more than just your topic, right? So let's say you had something like the Civil War, something that we all know. Well, sources can meet your needs and maybe not talk about the Civil War at all, because the Civil War, you need to understand Abraham Lincoln, you need to understand slavery, you need to understand the Emancipation Proclamation, you need to understand the Battle of Gettysburg, you need to understand the Confederacy, you might need to understand Jefferson Davis or Robert E. Lee. Like, so as long as you're finding a source that's addressing one of those things, then it fits. It's relevant to your topic, but you need to know what is it that you're looking for, which means you have to have a pretty decent grasp of your topic. Does the information relate to your topic or answer your question? Again, this could be big or small questions. I'm really trying to write better, but I can tell I'm doing a horrible job. Who is the intended audience? This matters because sometimes you may find bias here, and we'll talk about that as we go a little bit further too. Is the information at an appropriate level? That matters. If you're reading something that's like written for first graders, it might not be the best type of source for you to use on your National History Day project. Have you looked at a variety of sources before choosing this one? You are going to do this. You are not going to just have one source. You'll probably have at least 25 if you want to go past the school competition. Would you be comfortable using this source for a research paper? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about this down here, but what you really want to find is things that have been reviewed or seen by experts. That's the stuff you want to use in a research paper. And I'm going to go ahead and send an arrow down here because that's what we're about to talk about now. So relevance is, does it fit with what you're trying to do? Are you trying to just find a quick piece of information that you can tell somebody about? Well, then you're using Google or whatever, and that's fine. But a research paper demands more sophisticated sources. All right, we're going to keep moving. Authority, the source of the information. Who is the author, publisher, source, sponsor? Remember, we're watching for someone who is an expert, right? Or if they're not an expert, they are using evidence from experts. Are the author's credentials, I'm sorry, I think I got really loud right there. Are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations given? Organizational affiliations might be, maybe they work for a company, but and that might make you question a little bit, but like, do they work for a university, high school, they work for a company? All that might matter. You can imagine if you were researching something about the effects of cigarettes and the dangers with them, and you were reading something published by a scientist who works for Marlboro or Camel, you might not trust what you're reading. Their authority might be called into question a little bit. What are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations given? What are the author's qualifications to write on the subject? Are they an official historian? Are they a scientist? Are they a teacher? Is there contact information such as the publisher or email such as a publisher or email address? That's important because generally, if you're writing true things that you don't mind defending, you don't mind being contacted. And does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? If you were researching the moon landing and you went to a website that was called themoonlandingisfake.com, then that website might show that its authority might be called into question. All right, accuracy. Again, for accuracy, you're going to need to have done more research than just looking at one website, because you have to be able to measure or test these sites against others. The reliability, truthfulness, and correctness of the content. Where does the information come from? This is asking really historically too. So like, are they using a primary source? We'll talk about that more. Where is it coming from? Is it if you were doing something on Native Americans and the United States and their conflicts, you need to know where is the information this website's using, where's it coming from? Is it from the Native American side? Is it from the United States side? Because that makes a difference. Is the information supported by evidence? Boom. And what type of evidence? Has the information been reviewed or refereed? This just means, is anyone else looking at it? I'm going to draw some glasses right here, because smart people wear glasses, I think. And who's looking at it? You need smart people reviewing this stuff to make sure it's true. It's not just a blog post. Can you verify any of the information in another source? That means you need more than one. Believe it or not. It's a weird one. Does the language or tone seem biased and free of emotion? We've talked about that. Remember when we talked about pathos? That's what's going on here. Remember we talked about that with speeches. If you see charged words or biased language, then that might call into question a little bit about what you're reading. And are there spelling, grammar, or typographical errors? That's a pretty quick sign that there might. Doesn't mean that if there's one, you're like, oh, I got to throw this out. But that needs to impact your score. If you saw repeated errors, you'd come up here because that probably means nobody's looking at it. Okay, last one, and then we'll be done. Purpose, the reason the information exists. What is the purpose of the information? Sometimes you might be able to find that out by the web address or the name of the website you're at. Does the author's sponsors make their intentions or purpose clear? Sometimes you might have to click around off of the actual source to different spots on the website to find that. Is the information fact, opinion, propaganda? Does the point of view appear objective and impartial? That means it would be absent pathos. And are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, personal biases? And again, you've got to read the source closely to find that. Looking for pathos, looking for information that tell you where this person is coming from in their writing. So what you would do at the end, and this is kind of a feel thing, actually you would give this as you went through it. But let's say you had an 8 over here for currency. Let's say relevance was 10 out of 10. It definitely worked for what we wanted it to work for. Let's say authority is a little bit questionable. We'll give it a 7. Accuracy, it is accurate. We'll give it a 10. And the purpose, let's give it a 7 too. You'd add up all those things, and I forgot what those numbers are, but we're going to do this in a different workshop. And then you'd look down here and you'd say, yes, this is acceptable. And that means you can trust the information that you have there. And the reason you should be able to trust the information is you want to make sure you know what you're talking about. That is the purpose of everything. And I'm going to put that right here. Purpose for CRAAP test. Know what you're talking about. That is everything. You don't want to sound silly or stupid. All right, well, we'll do other workshops where we work through these, but this should give you a decent idea of what this tool is for and how you can use it. Thanks, guys.